Miguna is on Uhuru Kenyatta's neck. On Sunday, Raila Odinga was buried at Kang'o, Kajaramogi. Uhuru was present and he paid his last respect to Raila Odinga. A day later, Uhuru returned to Raila Odinga's gravesite, where again he paid his respect. Miguna seems to have gotten very furious with Uhuru Kenyatta. Let's have a look at what Miguna shared out through his X account, a post that is averagely receiving some reactions. Dr. Miguna, had Uhuru Kenyatta not stolen Raila Odinga's victory in 2017, Raila would have served his 10 years, acquired and bedecked the CGH moniker while alive, and not as some posthumous pity. Why didn't Uhuru cede power even in 2013 and allow Raila to become president? Luos have never forgotten what his father did to Jaramogi, Mboya, Agwenge, and millions of Luos over decades. Never, ever tell us to forget. Despot Uhuru Kenyatta ought to have publicly apologized for his criminal transgressions and sought forgiveness from Raila while Jacom was alive. But this kind of opportunistic, hypocritical, and deceitful acts must not go unchallenged. Uhuru's visit to Raila's tombstone might have assuaged his guilt conscience, but it was 8 years late. This was not a sign of genuine friendship. It was guilt where Uhuru took Nyithindo. And you are seeing Miguna has shared out that photo of Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday, returning to Raila Odinga's gravesite. Miguna is saying that these are just hypocritical acts by Uhuru Kenyatta, that Uhuru feels guilty. Miguna goes ahead to say Uhuru ought to have apologized to Raila when Raila Odinga was still alive. But then someone can ask, how does Miguna know Uhuru never apologized to Raila when Raila Odinga was still alive? We know Uhuru and Raila were in a handshake. And in 2022, Uhuru Kenyatta supported Raila Odinga for the presidency. And that, in one way or the other, was an indication that Uhuru and Raila Odinga had ironed out their differences. They were at peace with one another. And just to give a comparison, politics is never personal. You can differ politically, but on a personal life, you are together. Look at Rigathi, for example. Rigathi is a wonderful example. Rigathi and Raila Odinga, politically, they were not reading from the same page. But upon Raila Amolo Odinga dying, Rigathi even went ahead and confirmed to Kenyans that he had got some personal issues with Raila Odinga. He never paid any courtesy visit to the Odinga family. Rigathi and his close associates missed Raila Odinga's funeral. The whole country was mourning, but Rigathi was sending out some coded messages, and some of them here we've been discussing in our previous videos. So compare Uhuru to Rigathi. Does Miguna want Uhuru to behave the way Rigathi behaved? Uhuru is a national leader and he should be showing a good example to the public. What's happening here, ladies and gentlemen? Miguna is a controversial soul, bitter with everything. And if Miguna had nobody to fight, Miguna would start fighting himself. A very bitter, controversial soul. In 2022, when Uhuru Kenyatta supported Raila Odinga for the presidency, Miguna was busy supporting Raila Odinga's opponent, who at that time was Ruto. Now Miguna is trying to pretend that he cared about Raila Odinga. He's trying to pretend that he knows what was best for Raila Odinga. Looking at Miguna and looking at Uhuru Kenyatta, Miguna is coming out to me as more hypocritical than Uhuru Kenyatta. Miguna is very, very hypocritical. And also, if you look at it from another angle, Miguna might also be guilty. His guilt is eating him up. Raila made Kenyans know Miguna. What did Miguna do? Miguna started backbiting Raila Odinga. He went ahead, joined forces with those who never wanted Raila Odinga to assume power. When he says Uhuru Kenyatta rigged Raila Odinga's election in 2017, both Uhuru and Raila were looking for power. We know politics is sometimes dirty. Both Uhuru and Raila were looking for power. So Uhuru Kenyatta was not the IBC commission. There were people who were in charge of that commission. Miguna ought to have directed that directly to those who were in charge of IBC in 2017, not to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. As I conclude, if you look on how Uhuru has been received during this mourning period by Raila Odinga supporters, Uhuru enjoys a considerable support amongst Raila Odinga supporters. And if William Ruto misbehaves, if he does not handle the ODM brigade properly, then some of Raila Odinga supporters might actually make a journey to Uhuru Kenyatta. Some might start seeing Uhuru Kenyatta as their defender. So it's incumbent upon President Ruto to make sure he handles ODM with a lot of care. Before Raila died, he was in some working arrangement with Ruto. Ruto must make sure he upholds the ideals Raila Odinga stood for, and he fulfills all that Raila Odinga wanted, and most of what took Raila Odinga to the handshake. Politics is all about power. Raila wanted power for ODM party. As we head towards 2027, William Ruto must make sure ODM party gets that power. And the best deal Ruto can give ODM in 2027 is the running mate position. By Ruto giving ODM that position, Ruto will have lived up to the wishes of Raila Amolo Odinga. I'm pretty sure if Raila Odinga could have been present by that time, if at all he was to work with Ruto, he could have not worked with Ruto without ODM getting that position of a running mate. That's something I'm very sure about. Let me stop it there. If you are watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Those watching us outside Kenya, drop a comment, let us know from which part of the globe you are watching us from. If possible, subscribe, give the video a like. Miguna is just a controversial, bitter soul. Miguna feels guilty for having betrayed Raila Odinga. Let's meet in our next analysis.